Good morning. It is 8:31 a.m. on Ellis, and I'm back in the States, baby. This is 5 more minutes. It's Sunday, so I'm continuing my rewatch of Gravity Falls with Season 1, Episode 13, Boss Mabel. This is a nice little self-contained episode. It's nice to get a Mabel-centric one. We've had a bunch of Dipper stuff for a while with his whole running plot of trying to feel more like a man, and he's got his crush on Wendy, and he doesn't want to fight Robbie, and all that stuff, which I don't want to dismiss as interesting, as uninteresting, but for sure, it's nice to get a Mabel episode, and it's a good one. It's a classic comedy sitcom kids show trope of the two people who don't understand each other coming to a slightly better understanding of one another over the course of the episode by trading roles and having trouble with what the other one does. Pretty great, huh? So the basic premise of the episode, if you do not recall, is that we open with kind of some highlights of Stan being cheap and trying to draw as much profit out of the foolish, gullible tourists as he can, sees them as wallets with legs. And then when he catches Mabel giving a sticker away for free, he, lays into her. She yells right back, says that he's a mean boss, that she could do better. And they make a bet. He's going to go on vacation for 3 days, and he bets her that he can make more money on vacation than she can running the shop for 3 days, which is great, right? Now, Stan's side of that whole thing is pretty fun because it, first of all, it sets up this idea that he is actually going to successfully make a lot of money by going and being really good at this game show, this cash wheel, where he's so eager to make the money that he's not even following the normal sorts of ordinary protocol of wait until you're introduced and until they actually ask you for your turn. And but he's making lots of money, and it seems clear that it's all build up to this final. He's got $300,000 and double or nothing on this one thing, and it's a super simple thing where the answer is please, which had they'd set it up with the word please never makes me any money, and so then it could have, except that his guess was gimme instead of money, or excuse me, gimme instead of please, and so he made no money at all. Pretty fun, although I can't help but feel like I was waiting for an additional reveal somehow, like he was really tricking them and he actually had won the money somehow. Like I think I was waiting for that to happen, and then it didn't, and so I think that's fine. But the show had kind of trained me to expect one more reveal, I think. In the meantime, though, most of the episodes focused, of course, on Mabel trying to run the shop. She reads a How to Succeed in Business in the Early 80s book, and so she's got, she's being the best friend boss who lets the employees do everything, whatever they want. So the idea that, she's put on the jacket with shoulder pads and glasses, and the image that really stuck with me actually from this episode was taking the profits curve, as a curve, and then just adding an upward one and making it a smiley face. But of course, over the course of the episode, that's what what Mabel finds is that it turns out, just letting the employees do whatever they want. Usually, what they want is not to work very hard, and therefore. I think that we all can understand, living in the real world, we can understand that there's a balance to be found between maintaining employee morale and letting them just do whatever they want. And Mabel struggles with that balance. In particular, that's the focus around Wendy. You know, Wendy wants to be able to hang out with her friends at work, except that when her friends are there, she's really not working at all. And, you know, they're leaving a mess and, you know, kicking a shrunken head into the face of a young child. So that doesn't work very well. So that's the more classic issue. The issue with Seuss is a little bit stranger, but what sort of inspired madness is that question mark mascot costume that leaves his enormous body mostly unclothed, wearing underwear, but just so that he can have the dot from the question mark kind of over his crotch and the rest of it just kind of all up. That's an amazing costume. And to go from there to the idea of, to calm down, he should take a soothing nature walk, and then he is assaulted by wolves, and then later is basically he's saying the reason he can't work is because he's been adopted by some wolves that are going to raise him as their own, so I'd love to stay, but I really should be at the den right now. That's great stuff. I like how surreal that little plot gets, even though it's obviously just this tiny little tangent throwaway lines. And then, of course, Dipper thinks that they should have a real exhibit, and so he goes and hunts down the Gremloblin, which I like the flavor of that quite a bit, because obviously it's a combination of gremlin and goblin. But to just go run straight at the combination and make it just super on the nose like that, it's not even on the nose. It's like awkward to say, but it's fun. It's got some good detail in there, like the little mushrooms growing on its shoulders and everything. And I like the detail too of, like, if you look into its eyes, it shows you your worst nightmare. The only thing about that, though, that I would maybe say the show felt like it pulled a punch a little bit, is that it does briefly look into Mabel's eyes long enough for her eyes to start to glow, like the tourists did, but we don't see any kind of a nightmare for her, and she seems fine afterwards. And I guess the implication is that it just was, that Dipper stopped it before it could break her brain. But it just seems like an opportunity for the show to show us Mabel's worst nightmare, and then didn't. And then just didn't do anything with that. Which, on the scale of things, it's not so bad. But just the idea that, Mabel messes that up by thinking that the employee Gremloblin needs to be able to get out of his cage to take a break. And I like, too, though, that whole plot doesn't go in obvious ways. Like the idea that the Gremloblin smashes its way around. There's some fun stuff with Dipper reading the journal, is like, when fighting the Gremloblin, use water, ... turn page. Only as a last resort, because it makes it much scarier. That's fun. But then to have it just doing the little Billy Bass parody Singing Salmon thing, just pressing it over and over and over again and just sitting in the room doing that, that's good stuff. And then to have the Gremloblin's own worst nightmare just be, you've turned into your father. It's all good stuff. It's good stuff. So I enjoyed this episode. It's a little bit self-contained. The only real supernatural piece is the existence of the Gremloblin. Otherwise, it's a show. It's a story that could have been told in a non-supernatural type show. But I think the highlight is still the glory of the Stan Wrong song, which is not very long, but it's just so iconic, with Stan in that glittery leisure suit, and it's, I am Stan and I was wrong. I'm singing the Stan Wrong song. I shouldn't have taken that chance, so here's my remorseful dance. It's great. I like it. I like it so much. I don't know, it's just something about it. It's just, it's good stuff. Anyway, I have now, I think I was starting to say something about readjusting to East Coast time zone, and I'm not sure I'm all the way there yet. I slept at approximately the right times last night, but I think my brain does still feel like it's 10:40 p.m. right now instead of Sunday morning. But I'll be all right. So in the meantime, I'll talk to you tomorrow for 5 more minutes.